gonna believe this. I don't even think I believe this myself. I somehow managed to have these same size bolts. I'm pretty thrilled by it because usually this would be a delay as I run out to Ace Hardware, try to find the right size, which they inevitably won't have because everybody's metric selection is terrible. Guys, I don't know if everybody realizes everybody wants to work on things and it looks like fun to work on motorcycles and wrench, and when stuff like this happens, it can be a really big downer and a really big bummer and a motivation killer and kind of make you wonder, why do I even bother with this stuff? But as long as you don't sit in a corner and cry and you use your head and say, how on earth am I going to fix this? Sometimes good things happen and sometimes you can work past it. Now, I will say, you do it a lot of times before you start figuring out the solutions. I had mentioned possibly having to retap that threading. That was a possibility. Thankfully, I cleaned it out with some WD-40 and it is threading right on in there. So actually, I'm going to use the torque wrench to start so I don't over tighten it. We're going to give this another go. And this time I'm going to listen and pay attention. All right, so I'm noticing it is not getting tight. So what that means, yes, I'm going to have to clean the threads up on the inside of this thing. All right, guys, so now I've got a tap and I am trying to kind of re-tap this very gently and carefully. Kind of clean them up. I sprayed some WD-40 in there before I did this. I don't know if this is going to fix it. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I'll give it a test. My little bolt here. I think that worked. Now, obviously, I don't want to cause the problem again, so once I felt that bolt getting torqued down, I left it. Go ahead and drop a little thread locker on this. So again, these are really frustrating things that just happen sometimes. And they've happened to me before. I've learned some lessons, but I'm not perfect, so they're bound to happen again. And it's kind of just all about how you bounce back. Because I don't have anybody coming to my rescue for this. It is me, and just me. So let's see if we have better time here. So we've got it hand tight. All right. So it seems this is going to be a problem still. Today is the day. I'm going to fix this stripped threading in my case. I'm going to give you guys some unsolicited advice, and that is when you find yourself really frustrated and you really screw up, sometimes you just need to take a day, 2 days, whatever, however long, to stop, regroup, think, cool off a little bit. And sometimes the first thing that comes to your mind when you break something or really mess something up may not be the best solution, but if you give yourself a little bit of time to think about it, you might come up with a better idea. Gave it some thought. My initial gut response was, okay, I'm gonna helicoil it. Well, after chasing the thread, which didn't work, I know a lot of people really mess it up when they go to helicoil things, and then it ends up being even worse. I did come up with a plan B that I'm hoping I don't have to use. I am going to try to use the helicoil. If that doesn't work, then I'm not even going to tell you guys what plan B is, because I really hope it doesn't come to that, but I will fix this one way or the other. And then plan C is the worst plan of all, which is taking it to a machine shop and seeing if they can do something about it. So we are not going to think about those. I'm going to go ahead and try to do this helicoil. I'm going to do it on video so you guys can see if I screw it up or not, and we'll go from there. I did get a little tap to use. Just so you guys know, I do have a set of taps, but the metric 6 tap actually did not work, and I learned that it says it's a metric 6. Yeah, metric 6 times 1.0. This is not the same as a regular tap. It is shaped differently. So I did have to go out, and of course I had to spend like $30 on this stupid thing. I guess they know you're desperate when you go to buy this, so it's expensive as hell, because I think I got my tap set for maybe $30, and it had all of the sizes in it. So I've got to drill out. It says 1/4 drill bit. So I'm going to start by doing that. I have a decent set of drill bits that I'm going to use for this. Please pray for me, and we'll go from there. First things first, going to spray a little WD in here. I've double checked that this is the correct size drill bit. Going in the right direction. And here we go. Okay, so I very gently drill out this hole. Alright, so they gave me this little crappy thing made of plastic. I'm sure that'll go well. Clean out my hole a little bit here. Try to re-tap this. Yeah, that is not gonna work. Well, I guess I can get it started with this. Just so you guys know, this is not the first time that I've had to tap out threads before. If it is your first time, I highly recommend you don't start with something like this. Maybe practice before you do some like super important thing on your motorcycle, like the lower half of your case. More unsolicited advice, you're welcome. So I finished tapping this out. I did, since my tool wasn't exactly ideal, I did end up using locking pliers to get the last little bit, very, very gently. I cleaned out my hole. The threading looks decent. Now I'm just going through it again with the tap to make sure I can easily screw this in by hand. There's no resistance, and kind of just clean out the last bit of metal here. If you can do it by hand, that's a good sign, and so far so good. And this is going in very easily by hand, but I would like to make it like a little bit smoother going through, especially at the end here. So now I'm gonna load my little helicoil and try to thread this on in here. And see if I can use the bolt to push it in as far as it needs to go. Alright guys, so it is torquing down. The helicoil worked. The bolt is absolutely torquing down. I am going to take my transmission out once again, just so I can clean the inside of the case. Well, actually, you know what? I think I can clean it without taking it out. But anyway, I'm gonna take some time, clean the inside of the case, get all the metal shavings out, and then I'm going to go ahead and get this put back together. So you hear a lot of horror stories about helicoil going wrong, and I'm going to share with you guys why I think this was successful this time. So hopefully maybe you guys can have a little bit more success in the future with your helicoiling. Is that a word? I don't know. I think the key whenever you're drilling and tapping out anything, especially important things, check and double check your sizes. Make sure your drill bit is the absolute correct size. Check it against the instructions on your easy thread or the helicoil kit. Make sure you look at the drill bit on the actual drill bit. Make sure it's the right size before you do anything. And then use your WD-40 or your metal cutting fluid, whatever you like to use. I just use WD because that's what I have, and it's never done me wrong. Check everything a million times, and then when you actually start drilling, I like to go extremely slow. Yes, you're cutting metal. It's not easy to cut it slowly, but be really patient with it. Have some decent drill bits that you can use so you can take your time. I made sure everything was completely straight before I drilled it out. Didn't have any issues drilling other than the drill bit not being long enough, but I was able to just kind of slide it out a little bit and make sure it got all the way through. And then when it comes to the actual tapping of the hole, really take your time. Make sure you're going straight. Yes, I did use channel locks to finish it off because this stupid little thing did not clear the edge of the clutch housing. So you can see it didn't really clear here, and the tap wasn't long enough. So I finished it off with the channel locks, and what I did was I made sure that it was on it, and I gently close them, because if you close them, if you have them too tight, at least I figured, if you have them too tight and you're like violently snapping them down, you may kind of torque the tap a little bit and make your threading uneven. So I took my time with that as well. I would turn it a little bit, wiggle it back, turn it a little bit, wiggle it back. And then when I was done, I went through with the tap again and just chased it by hand, made sure it went in smoothly, cleaned it out with WD. And when I actually installed the helicoil, I went slow. So I think the name of the game is really just being patient, being really slow, and making absolutely sure that you have the right size on everything. I can't guarantee it's gonna go well the next time I do this on something, so just try not to do it in the first place, and you'll be a much happier, healthier mechanic than I will ever be.